Eleanor Roosevelt has this famous quote that I absolutely love, and it goes like this: Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. Have you ever heard that before? Great minds, events, average minds, or great minds, ideas, average minds, events, small minds, people. And I love that because it helps us all understand that we have a choice each and every day to live sort of in this mundane existence, or whether to just really start thinking at a different level, to start connecting the dots in our lives, to see the bigger picture of what's going on in our lives and in the world. And I think that that is so, so true and so, so encouraging and so inspiring. And yet, and still, at the same time, as I've gotten older and real life creeps up on me, I can tell you that pretty much every single day of my own life, I am mostly discussing people. And those people that I'm discussing most often are named Vivian, Luke, and Elliot. And I'm not really talking about very much profound about them. I'm really talking about like what they last ate and who needs to go where and did they pack a snack. So that's really where most of my life is lived. Sometimes I'm talking about big ideas. I am a preacher after all, so I get to do that. But most of the time, my life is lived in the very mundane. And whether you have kids or not, I bet you it is for you too. Our lives are full of just doing the things that we do, the to-do lists, the routines, the job, the after-school work, whatever it is, we are involved in day-to-day living. That's actually just what life is all about. And for the most part, that's not a problem. We go about the things that we have to do because we know that we need to do them. We go about them with maybe not joy, but contentedness. Except, except there are times where the things in our lives, the day-to-day mundane, really start to grate on us, really start to get itchy for us, really start to feel like tremendous burdens. And if you've ever felt that way before, like just the going about your daily life, just really wearing you down, if you've ever felt that way before, there could be perfectly good reasons for that, but there also could be this reason: that the life that you're living is not the life that you're called to be living. And that the things that you're doing in that life are not in alignment with the life that you are called to. And so when those things are in alignment, when, I'm called to be a mom. And so all these mom chores that I have to do I love them? No, but they're in alignment with the life that I'm called to do. So they don't grate on me so, so much. Although, ask me on a bad day, I might say something different. But in the big picture, they're just part of what I'm called to do. They're in alignment with my life. But for sometimes, and I've felt this way at different times in my life, every little thing that I'm doing is just like, oh, why am I doing this? The mundane becomes extremely laborious. Now, we have to know that there are certain circumstances in life that are separate from that. Like if you are a caretaker, if you are doing tremendous work, that's almost a different ballgame. But I'm just talking about something else where your life is out of alignment. And here's the thing. If that's true, you might wake up one day and just say, what am I doing? Why am I doing X? Why am I picking up this drink? Why am I doing this thing that I do? Why am I doing this work? What am I doing here? And then if you're like most people, you won't change at all. Because even realizing that our life is out of alignment, that the mundane tasks that we're doing are not part of this bigger vision that we're called to as people, it's almost sometimes too big for us to know what to do with. And so we sometimes just say, whatever, I'm just going to keep going as I've been going until and unless the grace of God breaks in. Now, this is actually what I think this story is really all about. Now, this story actually has a million different sermons that could be preached from it. It's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is about someone who is in the mundane day-to-day life and God breaking in and transforming it. And I want to show you how that is. Now, for starters, this story, which was extra long, thank you for our lay reader reading it, and thank you for all y'all listening to it. It was extra long, and part of the reason it was extra long is because it got into all of the details that we almost never see in a Bible story. We're told it's high noon. I almost feel like it's a Western and it's like, ah, like the sun is blazing and the dust is settling, and we're at noontime, and Jesus is tired. He's thirsty. They haven't eaten in a while. Disciples are all getting lunch somewhere. I mean, these are details we don't normally get in the Bible, right? We're in the mundane with Jesus. So he's sitting by this well, very significantly, the well of Jacob. He's sitting by this well in a Samaritan town. And here comes a woman, a Samaritan woman, towards him, and she's carrying a water jug because she is going to fetch water. Now, in the ancient world, this is the most mundane task that you would do, and it's mostly done by women or children. It's just this very day-to-day mundane task. It's like somebody is going out with their trash barrels on a Tuesday. They are putting them out. Like, this is mundane. You do it a couple times a day. You carry water for your household. And here's this woman in this life doing this. And what's amazing is that she doesn't think that she's doing anything, you know, profound, or we don't know that her life is something that she's wrestling with right now. She's just going about her life. She's in the zone. She's in the mundane. And Jesus meets her right there in that day-to-day life. He asks her for a drink of water. And she doesn't want to give him a drink of water at first because she's a Samaritan and he's a Jew. And this is also massive cultural clashing. And his response then is not to just stay in the mundane, but then he starts talking about this living water. And suddenly the conversation is moving up into something deeper, but the woman is really struggling to follow him there. And I love this because what she responds to him is she says this essentially. She says, well, if this is this living water that you never get thirsty again, sign me up because then I don't have to haul water anymore. So I'd really like some of that living water. And she almost comically brings it back into this mundane. Jesus is offering her something so much richer. He's talking about something beyond this mundane water experience, but the woman is so tied into this kind of route life that she's living that she brings it right back. She says, I'm just tired of carrying this water. So yeah, if you can offer me water that I don't have to carry anymore, if you can offer me water that never runs dry, sure, sign me up. And that's when Jesus flips the whole thing. He says to her, bring your husband. And she says, well, I've had 5 husbands, and he sees this about her. He sees her whole life, that she's had 5 different husbands. The man she's living with now is not her husband. Now, in the history of interpretation for the past couple hundred years, a lot of preachers have told congregations that this woman is probably a prostitute. But that's not actually what the text says. A lot of people will say that the story is about Jesus encountering someone in sin, and then he forgives her and blesses her and pulls her out of sin. But if you read the story, which we all just did, that actually doesn't happen. I think that this story is about something more profound. It's about a woman who's just fallen into a life that she didn't choose. See, back in those days, in ancient times, women would frequently have multiple husbands. She says she had 5 husbands. And so what that actually indicates is that she probably is someone who's gone through what's called levirate marriage. Now, in the old times, if your husband dies, women would really not want to be widows. That was a really harsh lifestyle. And so a lot of times families would marry the widow off to just some other man in the family, usually the husband's brother. And that could happen sort of a number of times, depending on people's ability to care for different women and whatnot. And so sometimes in the ancient world, women were sort of passed around a family as a way of protecting them, but it's not exactly a great lifestyle. I want you to imagine being a woman in those ancient times, being sort of passed around a family, nobody really taking ownership for you, nobody really caring for you, definitely not the love of your life are you with, but you're having these different husbands as you go through this system called levirate marriage. Talk about a life that you have not chosen. Talk about a life that you wake up one day and say, how did I get here? And so that's what Jesus sees when he sees this woman at the well, somebody who's living a life that she didn't choose, she fell into, or circumstances happened and swirled around her and put her into that place. And yeah, she happens to be living with another guy now, but who knows what the situation is there. And then what happens, I think, is so, so profound. She leaves her water jar at the well. Now, she had been going about this whole life and she had been gathering water and she seemed to need water, but she leaves her water jar at that well. She stops absolutely doing the mundane things that she was doing. She stops living this life that she had fallen into and she pivots at that moment and does something completely different. She goes back to her community and starts communicating about this amazing man that she's met, about the Messiah who has come, and she becomes an evangelist, a bringer of good news. Jesus gives her a new calling in that moment, a new reason for being, a new life, a new thing to accomplish, not to just be living a mundane daily life, carrying water for people and households that you don't even know why you're doing it anymore. Suddenly, she's an evangelist, someone who knows something that other people don't know, who has good news to share. And even though she goes back to her community as the lowest status you can imagine, she stands tall. And she stands strong because she is now speaking to the men of her community, to Samaria, and she brings them to Christ. Talk about a new vision for your life. Talk about a new calling, a new vocation. I think for so many of us, we think that if we're stuck in a rut or we're stuck in a life that has happened to us, that we have lost our agency about where's our life going, what kind of vision are we following, who are we becoming. We think that God is going to come in some big revelation for us. Whoa, God shows up in a thundercloud and suddenly I know life can be different. This story tells us that God actually sometimes shows up right in that mundane action. God shows up when you're carrying water, when you're going and, bringing the garbage pails back in from your house, when you're doing the dishes, when you're serving the life that you may or may not want to be living. Now, I want to invite you to do something this week. Our goal here is for you to all think about, what is the vision for my life? And am I clear on that? Are the things that I'm doing right now, all the workaday tasks and mundane tasks that I have to do, are they serving the vision for my life, or are they not in alignment? So right now, I want you to think about one thing that you have to do every day. Just anything that is like the most mundane task that's kind of work oriented. So not like brushing your teeth or anything, but something that you have to do, like the dishes or what have you. Who wants to think of something? What's something that you do every single day? Anybody want to be bold and share? Yes. Figure out what to eat. Figure out what's for dinner. What am I going to eat? I love it. Anything else? One more. Yes. Clean your room. That's a good one. All right. So everybody take a moment and think about what is going to be your thing this week. The one task that you do every day, whatever it is. Now for this week, I want you to think about that as your water jug task. Okay? That's your water jug task this week, whatever it is. And as you carry that water jug this week, I don't care what it is, if it's dishes, if it's laundry, if it's packing the kids' snack, whatever it is, whatever's your water jug, use that as a moment to ask God, do I know why I'm doing this? Do I know who I'm doing this for? And is this really part of and serving the life that I want to be living? And if the answer is yes, fabulous. You're going to end up doing those tasks with so much more grace and acceptance and joy because you're aware that all of those mundane things actually are serving the thing that you want. All of that parenting stuff that I do, yeah, it's serving my vision, which is to be a good mom. But if the thing that you're doing is not serving, or you're not sure what it's serving, let that be an opportunity for God to come in and not necessarily give you the answer right away, but to open a door into thinking about what's your life's purpose, what's your life's vision, and what you might be becoming right here and right now for the next few years. And that story might be needed to be rewritten. You might need to leave some water jugs at the well and go running towards a new beginning. May it be so, and amen.